the attacks. First one declared a national day of service in this country.
And throughout the morning, throughout our show, we're going to look in on some of the memorial events going on at Ground Zero here in New York City, as well as events at the Pentagon and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
Also ahead this morning, that all-out search led by the FBI to find a missing Yale medical student.
That's right. 24-year-old Annie Lee was supposed to be married this coming Sunday, but she hasn't been seen since a surveillance camera recorded her walking into a research lab on Tuesday morning. Police have questioned her fiancé. They say there is not a worry about his involvement in this case. In fact, he is assisting in the search. And Lee's friends fear this is not just a case of a runaway bride. We're going to get the latest on the story in just a couple of minutes.
And an unusual sight, at least 12 great white sharks have now been spotted near popular beaches on Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The largest, an estimated 15 feet long, weighing an estimated 2,000 pounds. We're going to meet one of the scientists trying to track those sharks down in a bit.
Also a story that's shaking up the world of track and field. A South African runner who's been tested to determine if she is in fact a woman. Questions were raised after 18-year-old Caster Semenya recently won a world title. This morning, those test results are reportedly in. We'll get the latest on that just ahead.
But we're going to begin with fallout from President Obama's address on health care reform and that congressional heckler. NBC's Savannah Guthrie is at the White House with the very latest. Good morning, Savannah.
Good morning, Meredith. Well, the health care debate will pause today as the president marks the 9/11 anniversary at the Pentagon. But on Thursday, he tried to create a little momentum from that big speech, while the focus continued to be on the Republican congressman who interrupted it.
Congressman Joe Wilson emerged from his office appearing shaken.
I've heard from the leadership that they wanted me to contact the White House and state that my statements were inappropriate. I did. I'm very grateful that the White House, in talking with them, they indicated that they appreciated the call.
Wilson stunned the House chamber Wednesday night when he shouted out during the president's speech, accusing him of lying.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally. It's not true.
Meeting with his cap.
Well, the congressman's office says it's seen a fundraising boom since this speech, too. And there's something of a debate on Capitol Hill right now. Some Democrats think that Wilson should have to go to the House floor or apologize or think there should be sanctions. Other Democrats, like Speaker Pelosi and the White House, too, thinks we should all just move on. Matt?
All right, Savannah Guthrie at the White House. Savannah, thank you very much. David Gregory is moderator of Meet the Press. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt.
Talk more about Joe Wilson in a second, but let's talk about the strategy now for the administration. The speech on Wednesday night was a high-stakes bid to give health care reform a shot in the arm. What form does the effort and the strategy take now?
Well, in talking to people both inside and outside the White House, the strategy is clear. For all the talk about the White House and Democratic allies on Capitol Hill trying to ram through health care reform, what the president has settled into is very much a strategy of trying to get 60 votes. 60 votes in the Senate, not having to use those parliamentary rules, the budget rules of reconciliation. And so the key here is Senator Olympia Snowe of Maine. She could be that 60th vote and the lone Republican vote. One of the first calls the president made after the speech, the morning after the speech, was to Senator Snowe. Her schedule is being factored in when it comes to negotiations in the Senate Finance Committee. So that's where the action is. Keep the Democrats in line, get Senator Snowe, try to get to 60.
When you talk about Senator Snowe, so basically the White House is continuing to reach out to moderate Republicans, and that's not enough for some Republicans. John McCain was on this show yesterday, and he said this about the effort. He says, there has been no bipartisanship in addressing the health care issue. I've been in bipartisan negotiations. I know what they are. It has been totally absent from addressing this issue. So is that a fair complaint? Is the White House ignoring the rest of the GOP?
Look, the White House will argue that there has been some outreach. In the president's own speech, there were several ideas, including Senator McCain's, that could be part of this reform effort. But behind that is really more of a play by the White House to try to squeeze Republicans to say, look, You're going to be obstructionists here if you don't get on board. There are some ideas. We can find some common ground. Really, there's a feeling within the White House that Republicans have largely moved on. There may be a play for a moderate Republican or two, not much more than that. The real focus now is keeping the Democrats in line, and that's a big enough job for the president.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I think we should move on, but the heckle heard round the world, Joe Wilson, was it an isolated incident, or do you think it's part of a bigger picture?
Look, I think that heckler, Congressman Wilson, is going to speak for a lot of people who are the harshest critics of the president. But it also does represent something of a movement that goes back really to President Clinton, where there's a growing number of people who somehow think the president is illegitimate and that it's okay to treat the president this way or to question the president this way. And I think that has taken shape. It certainly took shape during the administration of President Bush, and now we're seeing it with President Obama. A lack of civility, questions about the legitimacy of the president, and a lack of respect for the presidency. I think you're seeing that infused in this debate, Matt.
All right. What do you have for Sunday, David?
We're going to have more on where the health care debate goes. We've got an exclusive debate. Senators Cornyn and Durbin, Howard Dean and Newt Gingrich. Should be lively.
All right, David Gregory. We'll see you Sunday for Meet the Press. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Matt.
7:08. Here's Meredith.
Matt, thanks. And now to the FBI-led search for a popular medical student at Yale University who has disappeared just days before her own wedding. NBC's Jeff Rawson is at the Yale campus in New Haven, Connecticut. Jeff, good morning to you.
Meredith, good morning to you. The mystery starts right here. She was last seen walking into this building on campus on Tuesday. In fact, there's surveillance video of her walking into the building, but never any video of her walking out. She literally just vanished. It's been days. These flyers, these missing person flyers, are just up everywhere around campus where you walk. And her wedding is planned for this weekend.
Less than 48 hours after she vanished, the FBI arrived at Yale, going through dumpsters and questioning Annie Lee's friends. The FBI's involvement so early in the case, fueling fears this isn't the story of a runaway bride, but instead something much more sinister. Annie Lee may be the victim of a violent crime. This is the last image of Annie,
A bizarre situation, to say the least. This case is so sensitive right now, even the FBI is asking for the public's help. And late last night, they established a 24-hour tip line. We have that phone number for you. It is 1-877-503-1950. Police have questioned the fiancé, but do not believe he is involved in her disappearance. In fact, now he's joining the police to help in the search. Meredith.
All right, Jeff Rawson, thank you very much.
Let us get a check of the rest of the morning's top stories. From that, we'll head over to Ann at the news desk. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning to you, Matt and Meredith. Good morning, everybody. Today, we pause to remember the attack on America that changed our world. It was at 8:46 a.m. Eastern, 8 years ago, when the first of 4 hijacked planes struck. And today, ceremonies and moments of silence are being held in New York, at the Pentagon, the White House, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Tonight, the tribute in light will shine again above Ground Zero, where the Twin Towers once stood, to honor the nearly 3,000 people who died. NBC's Ron Allen is there for us this morning from Ground Zero in Lower Manhattan with more. Hey, Ron, good morning.
Good morning to you, Ann. It is a very windy, blustery day here overlooking Ground Zero. Many September 11 families have been pushing for this to be a national day of service and remembrance for many years, and President Obama recently made that happen. The result is that there are thousands of organizations around the country that are mobilizing volunteers to perform good deeds in their communities to honor the service and sacrifice that was so evident here September 11th, 8 years ago. Many families, volunteers, and first responders are gathering here for the annual ceremony. They will read the names of the nearly 3,000 who perished here. There will be 4 moments of silence to mark the times when the planes hit the towers and when the towers fell. This is also a time to take stock of the rebuilding effort here at Ground Zero, a process that has been moving along very, very slowly. The latest plan is to build 4 skyscrapers surrounding a memorial and a museum. The goal is to have the memorial in place by 2011. Ann?
All right, Ron Allen in the rain, thanks so much for your reporting this morning on this important story and on this National Day of Service and Remembrance that Ron was talking about. First Lady Michelle Obama and Dr. Jill Biden are joining forces, calling on Americans to support military service members, veterans, and their families. The two are appearing in the first of a series of public service announcements that encourage volunteerism. Some good news this morning in the fight against H1N1, otherwise known as the swine flu. Scientists now say it appears that only one shot of the new vaccine will be needed to protect most Americans from the virus, not two as predicted earlier. And they say the vaccine becomes effective in protecting people from the swine flu within 10 days. The White House has announced that President Obama will deliver a major speech on the U.S. financial crisis on Monday on Wall Street. CNBC's Melissa Lee now joins us now from the New York Stock Exchange with more on this. Melissa, and that's not the only thing that Wall Street is watching today.
Certainly, and it will be a somber day here as well at the New York Stock Exchange, just a couple of blocks away from Ground Zero. Investors, though, will do their best to focus on the business at hand, and that is the state of the economy. Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner going to the Hill yesterday, testifying in front of Congress about the state of the TARP, saying that the additional placeholder for $750 billion likely will not be necessary. Certainly good news there. And yesterday in the CNBC Town Hall exclusive event, Geithner said that the economy is improving, but that we've got a long way to go. And
all right, Melissa Lee, keeping a close eye on the all-important economy. Thank you this morning. And finally now, NASA will try again today to bring the shuttle Discovery home. 2 landing opportunities were scrubbed on Thursday because of bad weather over Florida, which means Al has a lot of explaining to do. It is now 7:14. Let's go back to the aforementioned Al and also Meredith and Matt.
Not my fault.
Don't take it personally.
It's easy to blame somebody, though. Yeah.
Somebody points a finger at you, depending on the finger. Anyway, let's take a look, show you what's going on. We'll show you for today here in the Northeast. Man, it is rough. We've got a tornado watch in effect for much of the southern half of New Jersey until 12 noon. This coastal low will not go away. It's going to cause beach erosion, flooding, rainfall amount next 40. New York on into Connecticut, we're talking 5 inches of rain. Coastal flooding and street flooding also in some low-lying areas going to be a big problem. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods. Time of year. We've been waiting for this, and now we can tell you it's here. It's time for Sunday night football night in America. It's a big one. The Bears take on the Packers at historic Lambeau Field. Clear, mild temperatures, 61 to 66. NBC coverage starts at 8 on Sunday night football night in America. Matt.
16 weeks of this?
Yes!
All right, Al, thanks very much. Now to the fast-thinking victim of identity theft in Seattle, Washington, who helped authorities break up what's being called a significant crime ring. 5 people have been charged so far. 3 of those have pled guilty. NBC's Miguel Almaguer has the details.
See hundreds of people every day.
Faces don't always stand out for store clerk Michelle McCambridge.
So you guys were face to face?
Yes, right here.
NBC News, Seattle.
That's a good ending to that story. It's now 19 after the hour. Once again, here's Meredith.
Matt, thank you. And now to the world-class runner subjected to gender testing after her sex was called into question. NBC's Donna Friesen is in London with the very latest. Donna, good morning.
Good morning, Meredith. The results are in on Caster Semenya's gender, and there are unconfirmed reports. They show she has both male and female sexual characteristics. But the International Athletics Federation is urging caution, saying medical experts have yet to interpret what those results actually mean.
She is South Africa's golden girl.
This morning, South Africa's sports minister said again he has no doubt Semenya is female and that if they have to, they'll launch a legal battle to allow her to continue to compete. The Athletic Federation says it will not announce a final decision on Semenya's test results until November. But a spokesman has said their legal advice is that if the results show she had an advantage because of naturally occurring male hormones, then it will be extremely difficult to strip her of her gold medal because it doesn't mean she was cheating or using illegal drugs. Meredith.
All right, Donna Friesen, thank you very much. And just ahead, a frightening sight, great white sharks swimming near beaches in Massachusetts. We'll meet the man who is tracking them down. But first, this is Today on NBC.
Still ahead, the emotional debate over parents who choose to have their babies at home.
Plus, the bride-to-be who swallowed her engagement ring. Did they ever tie the knot? We'll find out after your local news and weather.